The sky over Seoul burned red as Captain pulled his fighter jet into a desperate climb. 3 alien craft followed him, their weapons charging with an eerie purple glow. He had been in the air for 6 hours straight, ever since the massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit. Every nation had scrambled their forces, but it was like throwing rocks at a tank. "Phoenix 7, you've got 2 more on your 6, the radio crackled. The voice belonged to Lieutenant, one of the few pilots still alive from their squadron. They had started the day with 20 fighters. Now only 4 remained. Didn't bother responding. He banked hard left, feeling the G-forces press against his chest. The alien weapons fired, missing him by meters. Bright purple bolts cut through the air where he had been seconds before. His own missiles had proven useless against their shields. Everything humanity threw at them just bounced off or exploded harmlessly. "This is ground command to all units," a new voice broke through. It was General, and he sounded tired. "Fall back to Rally Point Delta. I repeat, all units fall back. We're evacuating the cities." Felt his stomach drop. Evacuating meant they had lost. Earth's combined military forces, all the tanks and jets and ships, had lasted less than a day against the invasion. He watched the alien mothership hanging in the sky like a dark moon. It was larger than any city, its surface covered in lights and weapons. On the ground, people ran through the streets. Cars crashed into each other as drivers abandoned them. Buildings burned. Had never felt so helpless in his life. He was a fighter pilot, trained for combat, but what good was training when the enemy was so far beyond them? "We have to go," his voice was urgent now. "They're charging their main weapon." He looked up at the mothership. A bright light was building in its center, growing brighter and brighter. Pushed his throttle forward and dove toward the rally point. Behind him, the light reached its peak. Then the mothership fired. The beam hit the ground like the finger of an angry god. Everything in its path simply vanished. Buildings, roads, people, all gone in an instant. The shockwave that followed threw jet sideways. Alarms screamed in his cockpit. He fought the controls, barely managing to keep the aircraft level. "Ground command, this is Phoenix 7, he gasped into his radio. "Seoul is gone. The city is gone." Static answered him, then nothing. Halfway across the world, Doctor stared at her computer screen in disbelief. The research station in Antarctica was supposed to be remote, far from any danger, but the readings she was seeing made no sense. Deep beneath the ice, something was waking up. "Doctor, you need to see this," her assistant called out. The young woman was pointing at another monitor. It showed seismic activity across the entire Antarctic shelf, but these weren't normal earthquakes. The patterns were too regular, too organized. "How deep are these readings coming from?" asked, pulling up more data. 3 kilometers beneath the ice. "And doctor, the temperature down there is rising, fast." That was impossible. The ice at that depth had been frozen for tens of thousands of years. Nothing could generate enough heat to melt it, not naturally. His fingers flew across her keyboard, pulling up satellite data. What she saw made her blood run cold. The heat signatures formed a pattern, not a random distribution but a grid. A perfect grid covering hundreds of square kilometers. Someone had built something down there, something massive, and it was turning on. "Get everyone to the main building," ordered. "Something's happening." The young woman hesitated. "But doctor, the news says we should evacuate. The aliens." "I know about the aliens," cut her off. "But I think we just found something more important than running." Outside, the wind howled across the frozen wasteland. Antarctica was always hostile, always trying to kill anyone foolish enough to live there, but now felt something else in the air. A vibration, so low she felt it in her bones rather than heard it. The ice began to crack. It started as small fractures, thin lines spreading across the white surface. Then the cracks grew wider, deeper. Water that had been frozen since before human civilization began started to flow. Steam rose into the frigid air as heat from below met the surface cold. Ran outside, pulling her parka tight against the wind. Her team gathered around her, all of them staring at the impossible sight. The glacier was breaking apart from underneath. "What did you find?" Dr. Minu asked. He was the station's lead geneticist, a quiet man who rarely showed emotion, but now his eyes were wide with shock. "I don't know," admitted. "But whatever it is, it's been down there for at least 50,000 years. The ice layer dating confirms it." 50,000 years, Minu repeated slowly. "That's long before any known civilization." The ground beneath their feet trembled. Then, with a sound like thunder, a section of ice the size of a football field collapsed inward. Where solid white had been moments before, now there was a dark opening. And from that opening, lights began to glow. Not the warm yellow of fire, but a cool blue that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "We need to document this," said, already pulling out her equipment. "Whatever's down there, it might be important." "Important," one of the other researchers laughed nervously. "Doctor, the world is being invaded by aliens. Nothing else matters right now." But wasn't listening. She was watching the lights grow brighter. The pulsing was getting faster, more intense. It reminded her of something waking from a long sleep, slowly at first, then quicker as consciousness returned. Deep in the ice, in chambers that had been sealed for 50, systems were coming online. Preservation pods designed by minds long dead began their revival sequences. Inside those pods, 10,000 soldiers who had volunteered to sleep until Earth needed them were opening their eyes for the first time in 50,000 years. They had one mission, programmed into their very cells through technology that modern humans couldn't comprehend: protect Earth, defend humanity, win at any cost. The first pod opened with a hiss of escaping gas. A man stepped out, his body perfectly preserved, enhanced, and ready for war. His name was Park, and he was a sentinel. The last time he had been awake, his people had faced an alien invasion that nearly destroyed all life on Earth. They had won that war, but at terrible cost. Before going into the ice, the sentinels had made a promise. If the aliens ever came back, they would be ready. They would be waiting. They would make sure humanity survived. Took a breath, his first in 50,000 years. His enhanced senses immediately detected the alien energy signatures in orbit. So they had returned. Different ships, different species perhaps, but the same threat. Around him, more pods opened. More sentinels emerged. They moved with the fluid grace of predators, their bodies humming with power that modern humans had forgotten was possible. "Status," commanded, his voice rough from disuse. A woman stepped forward. Song, his second in command, looked exactly as she had the day they had entered the ice. "All systems active. Enemy forces detected in orbit. Surface civilization under attack." Nodded slowly. "Then we keep our promise, we protect our people." He walked toward the opening in the ice, toward the surface, toward the war. Behind him, an army that had been sleeping since the dawn of human history followed. The galaxy had come for Earth expecting an easy victory. They were about to learn why that was a mistake. Doctor couldn't believe what she was seeing. People were emerging from the ice. Not frozen corpses or ancient remains, but living, breathing humans who moved with impossible grace and purpose. They wore strange armor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, adapting to their movements. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim Antarctic light. The first man to reach the surface looked around, taking in the frozen landscape with the calm assessment of a soldier. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his face handsome but hard. When his eyes met, she felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. "You are descendants," he said. His Korean was ancient, the accent strange but understandable. "How long have we slept?" 50,000 years, managed to say. Her voice shook. "Give or take a few centuries. Who are you?" "I am Park, commander of the Sentinel Force." He looked up at the sky, where even in daylight the alien ships were visible as dark spots against the blue. And we are Earth's defense. We have always been Earth's defense. More people emerged from the ice. Counted them frantically. 10, 20, 100. They kept coming, an endless stream of ancient soldiers. Dr. Minu approached cautiously, his scientific mind already racing with questions. "This is impossible," Minu said. "The human body can't survive that long frozen. The cells would break down, the brain tissue would." "We are not like you," a woman said. She was smaller than but moved with the same predatory confidence. "We were changed, enhanced. Our bodies were rebuilt to survive the sleep and to fight what was coming." "Changed how?" Minu asked, his curiosity overcoming his fear. "I am Song," the woman said. "I was a weapons engineer before the enhancement. Now I am a weapon, we all are." Raised his hand and the sentinels immediately fell silent. The discipline was absolute, instant. "We need information. What is the current state of the invasion?" Pulled out her tablet showing him the news feeds. The images were devastating. Cities in flames, military forces scattered, millions dead or missing. The sentinels watched without visible emotion, but saw their hands curl into fists, saw the slight narrowing of their eyes. "They are using kinetic bombardment," observed. "Crude but effective against an unprepared population. What weapons do you have?" "Missiles, jets, tanks," listed. "Nuclear weapons, but we haven't used them yet. The aliens have shields. Nothing we fire gets through." "Shields," muttered. "Of course they have shields. They always have shields." Turned to his people. "We need to reach a command center, somewhere with communication equipment and tactical data." He looked at, "Can you help us?" Nodded quickly. "There's a military base 300 kilometers from here. Station. They have everything you need." 300 kilometers, repeated. He looked at his soldiers. "We run." And they did. The sentinels took off across the ice at speeds that should have been impossible, watched them disappear into the distance, moving faster than any vehicle she had at the station. She turned to Minu, her mind reeling. "Did we just meet superhumans from 50,000 years ago?" she asked. "I think we did," Minu replied. "And I think we need to follow them, prep the snow vehicles. We're going to." At station, Captain was trying to hold things together. After Sol fell, he had managed to limp his damaged fighter to a base in Japan. From there, he had been reassigned to Antarctica, of all places. Command thought the remote location might be safer, a place to regroup and plan a counterattack. But there was no counterattack. There was just survival. "Sir, we're getting strange reports from the research stations," Lieutenant said. He had followed south, one of the few pilots still alive. "They're saying people came out of the ice." People looked up from the tactical display. "What people?" "I don't know, sir. The reports don't make sense. They're saying ancient soldiers, moving at superhuman speeds heading this way." Was about to dismiss it as stress or hallucinations when the alarms went off. The perimeter sensors had detected movement. Fast movement. He rushed to the window and saw them coming. They ran across the ice like wolves, barely touching the ground. Dozens of them, all wearing that strange flowing armor. They covered the distance from the horizon to the base gates in minutes, a feat that should have taken hours. "Hold fire," ordered as soldiers raised their weapons. "They're human. I repeat, hold your fire." The runners slowed as they approached, coming to a stop just outside the gates. Their leader, a tall man with an air of absolute authority, stepped forward. "I am Park," he called out. "Sentinel Commander, we are here to help defend Earth." Walked out to meet them, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The man looked young, maybe 30, but there was something ancient in his eyes, something that had seen too much war. "I'm Captain," he said, "Korean Space Defense Force. How exactly do you plan to help?" Smiled, and it wasn't a kind expression. "By doing what we were created to do, kill aliens." Inside the base command center, studied the tactical situation with an intensity that made everyone nervous. He absorbed information at an incredible rate, his enhanced mind processing data faster than the computers. Stood beside him, occasionally pointing out details or asking questions. "Your weapons are too weak," said finally. "The aliens have particle shields. Conventional explosives won't penetrate. You need either massive kinetic force or directed energy weapons." "We have rail guns in development," offered, "but they're not ready for deployment, and our laser systems don't have enough power." "We have both," said. She tapped her armor and a section of it shifted, forming a weapon that looked like nothing had ever seen. "This is a quantum accelerator. It fires projectiles at near light speed. Shield or no shield, it will punch through their armor." "How many of those do you have?" asked. 10,000, replied. "One for each sentinel. We also have heavier weapons in the deep storage vaults, but it will take time to excavate them." Felt hope for the first time since the invasion began. 10,000 super soldiers with advanced weapons. That might actually give us a chance. "Not a chance," corrected. "A certainty. We were built for this war, we trained for this war, and we've already won it once before." "Before?" Eyes widened. "You mean this has happened to Earth before?" Nodded slowly. 50,000 years ago, a species called the Architects came to harvest our world. They saw early humans as primitive, weak. They were wrong. He gestured to the sentinels gathered in the room. "We were the strongest of our people. Warriors, scientists, engineers. We volunteered to be enhanced, to be changed into something that could fight on equal terms with the aliens. The process was painful. Many didn't survive, but those who did became something new, something deadly." Picked up the story. "We fought for 10 years, tens of thousands of us against millions of them. We lost so many friends, so many good people, but we won. We drove them off our world and destroyed their harvesting fleet. But we knew they might come back," continued, "or others like them, so we made a plan. We would sleep, preserved by our enhanced bodies and the technology we had captured from the Architects. We would wait until Earth needed us again." "And you've been waiting for 50,000 years," said softly. "Everyone you knew, everything you had, all gone." "Yes," said simply, "but Earth survived. Humanity survived. You are our descendants and you are worth protecting." Dr. Minu arrived at the base with and the research team. He immediately approached, medical scanners in hand. "I need to examine you. Your biology shouldn't be possible." Later said, "First, we fight. Captain, I need full tactical data on the alien positions. Begin weapons distribution to the sentinels. We strike within the hour." "An hour?" protested. "We need days to plan a proper assault, weeks even." His eyes glowed brighter and realized it wasn't metaphorical. The man's eyes were actually producing light. "Every hour we wait, more of your people die. The aliens think they've won. They think Earth is defenseless. We're going to teach them what it means to wake a sleeping giant." He turned to address all the sentinels. "We sleep no more. We fight no more in distant memory. Today, we fight for the children of our children, for the world that grew while we slept. Today, we remind the galaxy why they feared Earth." The sentinels roared in response, a sound that shook the windows and made blood sing with sudden courage. Maybe, just maybe, Earth had a chance after all. Commander of the fleet watched the planet below with satisfaction. The conquest of Earth was proceeding exactly as planned. The primitive inhabitants had put up a brief fight, but their weapons were laughably outdated. Another day, perhaps two, and the planet would be fully subjugated. Then the harvesting could begin. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the southern continent," his tactical officer reported. "High concentrations of quantum resonance." Barely glanced at the display. Probably some desperate attempt at a secret weapon. Send a patrol ship to investigate and destroy whatever they're building. The patrol ship descended toward Antarctica, its crew bored and confident. They had done this dozens of times on other worlds. Primitive species always had some hidden base or last-ditch weapon they thought would save them. It never did. But as the ship approached station, something unexpected happened. A bright blue beam lanced up from the ground, moving faster than their sensors could track. It punched through their shields like they didn't exist, tore through the hull, and detonated the reactor core. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash, debris raining down onto the ice. "What was that?" demanded, suddenly very interested. "Unknown weapon type, Commander. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It bypassed the shields completely. Send 3 more ships, full shields, weapons ready." Captain watched from the command center as 3 alien vessels descended. Beside him, stood calmly, his hand resting on a console that controlled the base's newly installed defense systems. The Sentinels had worked through the night, integrating their ancient technology with the base's existing equipment. "They're coming in hot," reported. "Weapons charged, shields at maximum." "Good," said. "Let them feel confident." He waited until the ships were in optimal range, then nodded to fire. 3 more beams lanced upward. The alien ships tried to evade, but the targeting systems were too fast, too accurate. 2 ships exploded immediately. The third managed to raise additional shielding, but it only delayed the inevitable. A second shot punched through and the ship spiraled down, crashing into the ice with tremendous force. Stared in disbelief. "You just destroyed 4 alien warships in under a minute." "Their shields are designed to deflect kinetic and energy weapons," explained. "But our quantum accelerators operate on different principles. They create a temporary tunnel through space-time. No shield can block what technically never crosses the barrier." On the flagship, alarms were blaring. Stared at the tactical display, his multiple eyes wide with shock. He had just lost 4 ships to ground-based weapons. That shouldn't be possible. "Analysis," he barked. "The weapons appear to be quantum-based, Commander. Similar to technology used by the architects 50,000 cycles ago. But the architects are extinct. They were wiped out before the current galactic age." Felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Fear. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them Earth may not be what we thought." "Commander, should we withdraw?" "No," said, though he wasn't as confident as he tried to sound. "Deploy the ground forces. Overwhelming numbers. Whatever is down there can't possibly stand against our army." That was his second mistake. His first had been coming to Earth at all. Stood with the other Sentinels on the ice plains outside. Behind them, and a force of Earth's best remaining soldiers took up positions. The modern soldiers looked nervous, gripping their weapons tightly. The Sentinels looked calm, almost peaceful. "Contacts incoming," reported. 300 alien drop ships. Estimated ground forces, 30,000. "Good odds," a Sentinel named said. She was smaller than most, but had learned that among the Sentinels, size meant nothing. Was their combat medic and, according to, one of the deadliest fighters in the unit. 3 to 1, muttered. "That's not good odds." "For them," corrected. "Sentinels, weapons free. Show them what humans can do." The dropships landed in a wide formation, and alien soldiers poured out. They were tall and armored, carrying weapons that crackled with energy. They moved in perfect formation, professional and disciplined. They had conquered 100 worlds with these tactics. They had never fought Sentinels before. Raised his hand, and the quantum accelerators hummed to life. Fire. The first volley hit the aliens like a hammer. Their shields flickered and failed as the accelerated projectiles tore through them. Aliens fell by the dozens, their armor worthless against weapons that operated on principles their technology couldn't defend against. But the aliens didn't break. They were trained soldiers and they returned fire. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled the air. The Sentinels' armor absorbed most of the hits, deflecting or dispersing the energy. What got through was handled by their enhanced bodies, which could heal minor wounds in seconds. "They're trying to flank us," called out. "Let them," replied. He was moving now, not running but flowing across the battlefield like water. His accelerator fired continuously, each shot finding a target. Around him, other sentinels did the same, creating a zone of death that the aliens couldn't cross. And his soldiers joined the fight, their conventional weapons less effective but still causing damage. He watched in awe as moved through the battlefield. She carried medical supplies and treated wounded soldiers, both sentinel and modern human. But when aliens got too close, she moved with blinding speed, her combat abilities as impressive as any warrior's. "Captain on your left," shouted. Spun and saw 3 aliens charging his position. He raised his rifle, knowing it probably wouldn't be enough. Then was there, moving faster than his eyes could follow. She disarmed the first alien with a precise strike, used its weapon to shoot the second, and snapped the third's neck with her bare hands. The whole thing took maybe 3 seconds. "Stay close to us," she said with a small smile. "You're important to the commander." The battle raged for hours. The aliens kept coming, wave after wave, but the sentinels held firm. For every sentinel that fell, 100 aliens died. The ice was covered in bodies and wreckage, and slowly, inevitably, the aliens began to retreat. Couldn't believe what he was seeing. His ground forces were being massacred. 30,000 of his best soldiers, and they couldn't overcome a force barely a third their size. The humans fought with a ferocity and skill that explanation. "Prepare orbital bombardment," he ordered. "Target the entire engagement zone. I want nothing left alive down there." "Commander, our own forces are already lost. Fire." On the ground felt the change in energy above. His enhanced senses detected the buildup of power in the orbiting ships. "Orbital strike incoming. Everyone to the shelters." The sentinels and modern soldiers ran for the underground bunkers, but saw that they wouldn't all make it in time. Too many people, too far from safety. He started to turn back to help, but grabbed his arm. "Trust us," the sentinel commander said. Then 20 other sentinels stopped running. They stood in the open, raised their hands, and their armor began to glow. The glow intensified, spreading from one sentinel to another until they were all connected in a web of blue light. The orbital bombardment began. Massive energy beams powerful enough to level cities struck the ice. But they didn't hit the ground. The sentinels had created a shield, a barrier of pure energy that caught the bombardment and dispersed it harmlessly into the atmosphere. Stared in amazement. They're blocking an orbital strike with their bodies. Dr. Minu was recording everything, his hands shaking with excitement. The energy requirements alone should be impossible. Their cellular structures must be generating more power than a nuclear reactor. The bombardment continued for a full minute before gave up. When the shields finally dropped, all 20 sentinels collapsed, and other medics rushed to help them. They were alive but drained, their enhanced bodies pushed to the limit. Was the first to stand. He looked up at the sky, at the alien ships still hanging there like vultures. "They'll try again. We need to take the fight to them." Hal asked, "You don't have ships?" "No," agreed. "But we have something better. How long until we can access the deep vaults?" "The excavation teams say another 6 hours." "Make it 3. We're going to give the aliens a proper welcome to Earth." In orbit, was receiving reports from across the planet. Other alien forces were reporting similar resistance. Humans were fighting back with unexpected effectiveness. And now there were reports of more of these enhanced soldiers appearing at battlefields worldwide. "Commander, I'm detecting more quantum signatures. Thousands of them all across the planet." "Thousands?" felt his confidence crumbling. "How is this possible? Our intelligence said Earth was primitive." "Clearly our intelligence was wrong, Commander." "Made a decision. Prepare to withdraw to high orbit. We need to reassess the situation." "Commander, the Council won't approve a withdrawal. We have our orders." "The Council isn't here," snapped. "They don't understand what we're facing. These aren't primitive humans. These are something else. Something that should have been extinct 50,000 years ago." He looked at the planet below, at the small blue world that was supposed to be an easy conquest. "Send a message to all forces. Fall back to defensive positions. Do not engage the enhanced humans unless absolutely necessary. And pray to whatever gods you believe in that they don't have anything worse waiting for us." They did, and it was already waking up. 3 days after the first battle, the Sentinels had excavated 5 deep vaults scattered across the globe. What they found inside made even the modern military experts fall silent. Weapons that looked more like works of art than instruments of war. Ships that operated on principles physics hadn't discovered yet. And most importantly, a database containing 50,000 years of information. Dr. Minu spent every waking hour studying the Sentinel biology and technology. What he discovered both thrilled and terrified him. "Captain, you need to see this," he called out. Entered the medical lab where Minu had set up his equipment. On the screen was a genetic sequence that looked nothing like human DNA. "What am I looking at?" "Sentinel genetic code," Minu explained. "It's based on human DNA but enhanced with artificial sequences. These additions give them accelerated healing, enhanced strength, faster reflexes, and the ability to process energy in ways our bodies can't." He pulled up another screen. "But that's not the important part. Look at this." The new image showed what looked like a star map. "This is from the Sentinel database. It's a record of the ancient alien invasion 50,000 years ago. The species that attacked Earth, the ones they call the Architects, they weren't exploring. They were running." "Running from what?" asked. "That's what worries me. The database is damaged, but what I can read is frightening. The Architects fled from something called the Void Swarm, an entity that doesn't just conquer planets, it erases them from existence, consumes entire star systems." Entered the lab, closed behind. "Doctor is correct. The Architects came to Earth to harvest resources for their escape fleet. They needed our planet's rare elements to power their long-distance ships. We stopped them," added. "But the database suggests the Void Swarm is still out there, still consuming, still spreading." "Felt cold, and you think it's coming here?" "I think the current invaders these might be fleeing from the same thing," said. "The database shows patterns. When the swarm approaches, species panic. They become aggressive, trying to take resources wherever they can. Sound familiar?" Before could respond, alarms blared. "Captain, we've captured an alien vessel," Lieutenant reported over the intercom. "It tried to land near Beijing. The Sentinels there brought it down intact." "I want a team on that ship immediately," ordered. "We need information." The captured ship was surprisingly small, barely larger than a modern cargo plane. Inside, the crew had been subdued by Sentinels led by a woman named Han. She was the Sentinels' intelligence specialist, and she had the captured aliens lined up against a wall. "They're terrified," reported when arrived. "Not of us specifically, of something else." Approached the alien commander, a being with green-scaled skin and too many arms. "I am Captain of Earth. Why did you invade our world?" The alien stared at him with large, dark eyes. When it spoke, a translator device rendered the words into Korean. "We had no choice. The darkness comes. We needed new worlds, new resources. Your planet was supposed to be empty of intelligent life." "Empty? Your scans showed billions of humans." "Not you," the alien said. "The sleeping ones, the ones who fought the Architects. We thought they were gone, extinct. Every species in the galaxy knows the story. The death world that killed the Architects. We thought it was legend." Stepped forward. "It's not legend, we're very real, and we're very angry." The alien's skin paled. "You're one of them, the Sentinels. By the stars, you're actually real." "Why did you think we were extinct?" asked, her voice gentle but firm. Because nothing survives 50,000 years. Because the architects were the most powerful species in the galaxy and you destroyed them. Because after Earth, the architects' civilization collapsed. Their remaining fleets scattered, their worlds fell into chaos. One planet destroyed an empire. The alien looked at each of them. The council thought the story was exaggerated, propaganda. They were wrong. Tell me about this darkness, demanded. Is it the void swarm? The alien nodded frantically. We don't call it that, but yes. It appeared in the outer rim 5 cycles ago. Entire sectors went silent. No distress calls, no survivors. Just empty space where there used to be stars. It's spreading toward the galactic core, toward Earth. How long do we have? Asked. Months, maybe a year. When it comes, nothing survives. It doesn't conquer, it consumes. Matter, energy, life, everything. The council decided to expand our territory while we could, to build defenses, to prepare. By invading other worlds, said coldly. By surviving, the alien shot back. What would you do? The void swarm can't be fought with weapons, can't be negotiated with, it just is, an endless hunger moving through space. And exchanged glances. Take them to holding, ordered, treat them well, we may need their help. In the command center, called an emergency meeting with world leaders and Sentinel commanders. The room was packed with people from every nation, all connected via video link. The tension was thick enough to cut. Ladies and began, we have new information about the invasion. They aren't our real enemy, something worse is coming. He explained what they had learned about the void swarm. As he spoke, the faces on the screens grew pale. When he finished, there was a long silence. How can we fight something like that? The Chinese premier asked. If the aliens with their advanced technology can't stop it, what chance do we have? Stood, with respect, they aren't as advanced as you think. Their technology is impressive by your standards but primitive compared to what the Sentinels possessed. And we weren't the most advanced species of our time. The architects were, added. She had been studying the captured ship's database, and they couldn't stop the swarm through force, but they discovered something before they were destroyed, a weakness. Every eye turned to her. The swarm feeds on energy and matter, but it's disrupted by certain quantum frequencies. The architects were developing a weapon when they came to Earth. They needed rare elements found only on our planet to complete it. Did they succeed? The American president asked. No, said. We killed them before they could finish, but their research is still in our database, and I think we can build what they couldn't. Dr. Minu stepped forward, his tablet showing complex equations. The weapon would create a quantum resonance field. Essentially, it would make matter indigestible to the swarm, like trying to eat something that exists in a different phase of reality. How long would it take to build? Asked. With our current technology, decades. With Sentinel technology, months. But we'd need resources, cooperation, and every Sentinel awakened. How many are still sleeping? The British Prime Minister asked. Pulled up a map showing glowing points across the globe. 9,800,000. They're in deep vaults under every continent. We've awakened 10,000 so far. Bringing the rest online would take weeks. Do it, said. We need everyone we can get, and we need to make a deal with them. A deal, someone protested. They invaded us, they killed millions. And they're terrified, countered. They have ships, resources, knowledge of the swarm. We have the only weapon that might work against it. We need each other. Nodded slowly. Captain is right. This is bigger than revenge. This is about survival, not just Earth's survival, but the galaxy's. Looked uncomfortable. Commander, 50,000 years ago we fought alone. We trusted only ourselves. Are you sure about this? No, admitted. But 50,000 years ago, we were fighting one species trying to harvest our world. Now we're facing extinction of everything. The situation demands different thinking. Over the next week, a strange alliance formed. the fleet from Earth's surface but remained in orbit. Commander, shaken by the Sentinel's power and the truth about the swarm, agreed to share his fleet's resources and knowledge. Sentinels awakened by the millions, emerging from vaults in deserts, mountains, under oceans. Each one was briefed on the situation and put to work. Some helped build the weapon. Others trained modern humans in combat techniques. Still others worked with engineers to upgrade the alien fleet's defenses. Found himself working closely with both and. The alien commander was stiff and formal but desperate to help. "My people judged you wrong," admitted one day. "We thought might made right. We were fools." "You were scared," said. "Fear makes people do terrible things, but you're here now helping. That counts for something." "Will it be enough?" asked. "Will any of this be enough?" "I don't know," admitted, "but I'd rather die trying than give up." The quantum resonance weapon took shape in orbit, a massive construct built by human, sentinel, and cooperation. It looked like a silver flower, petals spreading out in perfect symmetry. At its center, rare elements from Earth's core pulsed with power. Dr. Minu monitored its progress constantly. "The mathematics are beautiful," he said. "If this works, it won't just protect Earth. The resonance field will spread, affecting space itself. Anything within range becomes immune to the swarm's consumption." Range asked. "If we can power it properly, the entire solar system, maybe more." Looked up from her displays, her face pale. "We're going to need that range. I just detected the swarm. It's crossed into our sector. It'll be here in 3 weeks." The void swarm appeared at the edge of the solar system like a tear in reality itself. It wasn't a fleet or an army. It was wrongness given form. Space twisted around it, light bent into impossible angles, and every sensor that tried to observe it directly burned out. Even looking at it on a screen made people feel sick. "It's eating Jupiter's moons," Dr. Minu reported, his voice shaking. "They're just disappearing. One moment they're there, the next there's nothing, not even debris." Captain stood in the command center, now housed in the massive orbital platform humanity had built. Around him, sentinels and modern humans worked side by side. Ships flew in formation with Earth's upgraded vessels. In 3 weeks, the impossible had happened. Species that had been enemies were now united against a common threat. Study the tactical display with calm focus. The weapon is ready. "As ready as it will ever be," Dr. Minu said. "But we've never tested it at full power. The calculations are sound, but in practice." "In practice, it either works or we all die," finished. She stood beside as she had for 50,000 years. Not much room for error. "Contact Commander," ordered. "I want all ships in defensive formation around the weapon platform. If the swarm reaches it before activation, everything is lost." The commander appeared on screen. His green scales had paled to almost white over the past weeks, stress taking its toll. "Sentinel Commander, my fleet is at your disposal. We will buy you the time you need." "Your sacrifice will be remembered," said formally. "There will be no sacrifice today," replied with a hint of his old pride. "Today we win, or we fail together." The void swarm moved through space like oil spreading across water. It consumed Saturn next, the great ringed planet collapsing into nothing in a matter of hours. Every ship in the combined fleet could feel it now, a pressure against reality, a hunger that made the stars themselves dim. Sentinel Shin commanded the orbital defense platforms that had risen from Earth's oceans. Massive weapons built 50,000 years ago, preserved and maintained by automated systems all this time. "Weapons charged and ready, Commander. Give the word and we'll show this thing what Earth can do." "Not yet," said. "We need it closer. The weapons field needs to encompass the entire swarm, or fragments will survive and regenerate." "Commander, it's eating Mars," Lieutenant reported. The young pilot had proven himself over the past weeks, earning respect from both modern humans and sentinels. "At this rate, It'll reach Earth's orbit in 4 hours. Then we have 4 hours to make sure our weapon works, said. He looked at Dr. Minu. Any last calculations to run? I've run them 1,000 times, Minu replied. The quantum mathematics are as perfect as I can make them, but mathematics aren't reality. We won't know if it truly works until we activate it. The Sentinel combat medic moved through the station checking on personnel. She found a young human technician crying quietly in a corner. Hey, she said gently, sitting beside him. What's wrong? We're all going to die, the young man whispered. That thing out there, it's going to eat everything. All of Earth, everyone I love. Maybe, admitted, but maybe not. I've been alive for 50,000 years, give or take. I've seen humanity at its worst and its best, and I've learned something important. Humans don't give up. We fight until the last breath. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but we always fight. I'm scared, the technician admitted. Good, fear means you're smart, stood and offered her hand. Come on. If we're going to die, let's die doing our jobs. If we're going to live, let's make sure we earned it. The swarm reached the asteroid belt, and there it encountered the first real resistance. The fleet opened fire with everything they had. Their weapons were ineffective against the swarm itself, but they could target the distortions it created in space. Beams of energy carved through the twisted reality, buying precious seconds. Ships vanished one by one. Captains screamed final defiance as their vessels were consumed, but they held the line, giving the weapon platform time to charge to full power. "'S flagship is gone," reported quietly. He went down firing all weapons. His last transmission was for the Alliance. Closed his eyes briefly. 3 weeks ago had been the enemy. Now he was a hero who died saving Earth. Make sure his name is remembered. When this is over, we honor their sacrifice. If there is an after, someone muttered. There will be, said with absolute certainty. Activate all defense platforms. Hit the swarm with everything. We need to slow it down for 90 more seconds. The orbital platforms unleashed hell. Weapons that could crack continents fired simultaneously, their beams converging on the approaching darkness. The swarm rippled, slowed, but kept coming. It was like trying to stop a tsunami with a garden hose. 60 seconds, Dr. Minu counted down. His hands flew across his console, making final adjustments to the weapon. All power systems at maximum, quantum field generators online, rare element core at critical mass. The swarm was close enough now that people could see it without sensors. The command center windows showed space itself tearing, reality peeling back to reveal the hungry nothing beneath. Some crew members screamed. Others prayed. The Sentinels stood firm, weapons ready even though weapons meant nothing against this enemy. 30 seconds, Minu called out. Core temperature rising, we're approaching the threshold. Will it hold? Asked. I have no idea. The containment fields are rated for this, but we've never generated this much power before. If they fail, the explosion will destroy the platform and probably Earth too. Comforting, muttered. She gripped her weapon, as if preparing to shoot the swarm if the machine failed. 15 seconds, quantum resonance building, the field is starting to form. The weapon began to glow, not with normal light but with something that hurt to look at, a brightness that seemed to exist in dimensions human eyes weren't meant to see. The glow spread, forming a sphere around the platform, then expanding outward like a bubble. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, activation. The quantum resonance weapon fired. Reality itself seemed to ring like a bell struck by an enormous hammer. The field expanded at the speed of light, washing over the swarm, over Earth, over the remaining ships and defense platforms. Everything it touched began to phase, to shift into a different state of existence. The swarm hit the field and stopped. For the first time since it had appeared, it hesitated. The hungry darkness that had consumed planets tried to feed on the matter within the field and found it impossible. like trying to eat something that existed in a different universe. The swarm pushed harder. The field held. Power readings on the weapon spiked as it struggled to maintain the resonance. "It's working," Minyu shouted. "The field is stable, the swarm can't penetrate it," but was frowning at her displays. "Commander, the swarm is adapting. It's learning. The field is working now, but it's already trying to match our frequency. In time, it will succeed." "How much time?" demanded. "Days, maybe weeks, but it will adapt eventually. This is only a temporary solution." "Made a decision. Then we don't give it time to adapt. Redirect all platform power to the weapon. Overload the quantum core." "Sir, that will destroy the weapon," protested, "and generate a pulse that could affect the entire sector." "Exactly. If we can't maintain the field forever, we make it permanent. One massive pulse that phases this entire region of space into a different quantum state. The swarm won't be able to feed here ever again." Dr. Minyu's eyes went wide. "That's insane. The mathematics alone, we'd be changing the fundamental properties of spacetime itself." "Can it be done?" asked. "Theoretically, yes, but the power requirements would be enormous. We'd need to sacrifice every ship, every platform, channel all their reactors into the weapon core." "Do it," ordered. "All vessels, this is Sentinel Command. Prepare to transfer all power to the quantum weapon. We're going to end this." Across the fleet, human and crews began the process. Reactors that powered shields and weapons were rerouted. Life support systems were set to minimum. Every scrap of energy was funneled to the weapon platform. "This is either going to save the galaxy or destroy it," observed. "Only one way to find out," replied. He looked at Captain. "It's been an honor serving with you." Smiled. "The honor was mine, Commander. Humanity owes you a debt we can never repay. You already paid it. You survived. You thrived. You built a world worth defending." Turn to all the sentinels in the command center. "My friends, my warriors who have slept for 50,000 years, this is what we were created for. Not just to defend Earth, but to ensure humanity's future. Today we fulfill that purpose." The weapon core began to overload. Power readings climbed beyond anything the designers had imagined possible. The quantum field flickered, intensified, began to pulse with a rhythm like a heartbeat. "We're reaching critical mass," Minyu reported. "Once we cross the threshold, there's no going back. The pulse will propagate through this entire region of space." "Do it," and said together. Dr. Minyu pressed the final button. The quantum weapon detonated, but it wasn't a normal explosion. It was a transformation. The massive energies released didn't destroy matter. They changed it, shifted it, locked it into a quantum state that the void swarm couldn't consume. The pulse spread outward in a perfect sphere, moving faster than light, affecting everything in its path. Ships phased into the new state. Planets did the same. Space itself rippled and settled into new patterns. The void swarm touched the edge of the pulse and recoiled. For the first time, it encountered something it couldn't overcome. The hunger that had devoured galaxies found itself faced with matter that existed outside its ability to consume. The swarm tried to push forward, failed, tried again. Then slowly, it began to retreat. On the command platform, alarms were blaring. The overload had damaged systems across the station, but they were alive, and more importantly, Earth was alive. "The swarm is withdrawing," reported disbelief in her voice. "It's actually leaving. The pulse worked." Cheers erupted across the command center. Humans and sentinels embraced. On the few surviving ships, crews celebrated in their own ways. They had done the impossible. They had stopped the unstoppable. Looked out the window at Earth, beautiful and blue and safe. "How large is the affected area?" "The pulse propagated across 3 sectors," Minyu said, still staring at his instruments in wonder. "Thousands of star systems. Everything in this region of the galaxy is now immune to the swarm." "That's a lot of space," observed. Plenty of room for refugees, for species fleeing the swarm. Nodded slowly. Earth just became the safest place in the galaxy. Species will come here seeking shelter. Let them come, said firmly. Let them come and see what humanity can do. Let them see that we don't just survive, we protect. Anyone who comes in peace will be welcomed. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy learned the truth. Earth, the primitive world that was supposed to be an easy conquest, had saved countless civilizations. The Sentinels, the sleeping warriors of legend, were real and had awakened to defend not just their world but all worlds. Ships began arriving from across the galaxy. Refugees, diplomats, scientists, all seeking the safety of Earth's new quantum field. Some came to thank the humans. Others came to learn. Many came simply because they had nowhere else to go. Commander's sacrifice was honored with a memorial. His name, along with all the who died defending Earth, were carved into a monument in Geneva. Former enemies became honored dead, their courage recognized. The Sentinels began the long process of integrating with modern society. Some returned to the ice, preferring to sleep until needed again. Others chose to stay awake, to see the world they had saved, and became ambassadors, teaching modern humans the old ways while learning the new. Was promoted to admiral, commanding the new combined fleet that protected Earth and its growing alliance of species. Dr. Minu continued his research, unlocking more Sentinel secrets, preparing humanity for whatever came next. And the medic opened a small clinic in Seoul, treating anyone who needed help, human, or any of the dozens of species now calling Earth home. 6 months after the battle, stood with on the observation deck, looking at the stars. "Do you think the swarm will come back?" asked. "Eventually," said. "It's still out there, still consuming, but it won't come here, and we've given the galaxy a blueprint for defense. Other species can replicate our weapon, create their own safe zones." "We changed everything," said softly. "You changed everything," corrected. "My people just helped. This is your world now, your civilization. We were the past, you're the future." "Then let's build a future worth the sacrifice," said. They stood in comfortable silence, watching ships from 100 worlds orbit the planet that had once been considered primitive. Earth had become the heart of a new galactic alliance, a beacon of hope in a dark universe. The galaxy had come for Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found humanity, both ancient and modern, standing together, refusing to yield. They found warriors who had slept for 50,000 years waiting for this moment. They found a species that didn't just survive but thrived, that didn't just defend but protected others. The Sentinels had awakened, Earth had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same.